this is a bit nice. This is gorgeous. I love scenes like this. When I was driving up here, I was thinking of what is landscape photography, or what is a landscape photographer? And I guess it's, for me at least, my understanding is that it's taking photographs in nature of the relationship between the land, the sea, and the water. In its purest form, I guess that's what it is. But I love taking photographs of this. I love photographing man-made influences within the landscape, especially if it blends in and it's in keeping with its surroundings. And here, we're right at the northern tip of Berneray in the Outer Hebrides. And here we've got a small cluster of houses which are fairly newly built, but they've been built in such a way to make out that they've been here quite some time. And I think it's done a pretty good job, actually. And I love this photograph. And what really sets it off, as well as being a part of this amazing landscape, there's a house there with a blue window frame. There's a red roof on a wooden shed in the garden. And that really makes the image pop. For me, at least, it makes it really pop. And it's beautiful, and I love it. So I've set my Fuji GFX 50 up on the tripod here, and I've composed it on the 20 to 35mm lens, base ISO of 100 and f16, standard fare for me. It's so windy here, it really is windy, it was so exposed here. I'm not going to use any ND filters. I'm going to put the polarizer on and just see what effect it has on the water. But I think I'm probably going to dial it out and keep the water fairly light as opposed to darkening it. I'm going to have a landscape orientation, like a 65 by 24 mailbox format, because I really want to accentuate this cluster of houses and the landscape that it sits in. So I don't want to go tight. I want to include as much of the broad landscape as I possibly can. And that, for me, that's how my eye sees it. And that, for me, is going to, for me at least, it's going to work. At least I hope so. But yeah, it's beautiful. It really is. And I think, yeah, I don't mind photographing these man-made influences within the landscape, as long as it's kind of in keeping and it adds value to the photograph. Because this photograph without the houses, it's a nice scene, but it's not necessarily a great scene. It's gorgeous, and I'm looking forward to getting this photographed. Postman Pat's just turned up. I have to wait for him to leave. But it is so windy, it really is, and it's cold. This is like the early part of August. This is the summer in Scotland. It's wild. But yeah, we've got all this amphitheatre of islands all around us. And over here we've got the old school in Bernaray. So these places are just steeped in history. It's a wonderful scene. So yeah, so for me, landscape photography, although in its purest form is land and water and the sky, but I don't mind photographing this. This is beautiful. I'm looking forward to seeing how it does. Just going to wait for Postman Pat to go and Farmer Giles to go, and then I'm good to shoot. Let's see how it comes out.
I wanted to get up as high as possible at this location because I wanted to create the separation between the houses and the distant land of North Uist, and therefore create the depth in the image. And by using the wide angle zoom and an aspect ratio at 65 by 24, I was able to create enough space for the houses to breathe in the photograph. A quite gorgeous Nordic feel to the image.
So I've moved a little bit further away from the first image I've just taken, just to get a different perspective, a different view of the same photograph. And I like the photograph, I like the image, but there's one thing that's really bugging me, and that is I've lost the separation between the houses and the mountain in the distance. So the roof and the chimney, they kind of merge into one, and it's kind of, I've lost that depth, I've lost that separation, and I'm not too sure whether I can get over that. One thing I'm going to try to do to compensate for that is, because I'm a little bit lower than I was from up there on the hill, it's not so breezy. It's still breezy, but it's not so breezy. So I might just be able to get away with a 6-stop ND filter just to smooth out the water, just to take the edge off the surface, because it's only going to give me a couple of seconds exposure, and I think it'll be okay with the wind. There's no point in trying a 10-stop filter, because it's just going to be too windy for a 10-stop. I can't get away with a 60-second exposure or 50-second exposure. It's not going to work. I'm not even going to try. So 6-stop would be okay. It's a nice photograph. It is a nice photograph. It's a nice scene. By taking still going to use the panoramic format, the 65 by 24, because I want to get as much of that sea lagoon in the image as I can, just to create that sense of remoteness and that sense of space and emptiness. So it's going to be quite thin, I think, this photograph, just like the last one you've seen. But I can't get my head around the fact that I've lost the separation. But I'm going to take it anyway. I'm here. There's not an awful lot of light, to be fair, and one of the benefits of there being flat light like it is now is that you're not being dictated to for the direction which you can photograph. You can photograph in all 4 different directions, whereas if the sun was out, I'd have to kind of work with it, so I don't have that restriction. So, and also I like to paint, I like to photograph these scenes in a quite a bleak way, a bleak but beautiful way. And I just think a blue sky isn't really what I'm trying to achieve here, which is just as well, because you don't get much blue sky up here. So it's quite cloudy and quite grey, but it is quite flat. Having said that, the sun is trying to break through. But I'm going to keep it nice and moody sky. Yeah, it's a nice setting. I was watching out for some otters, because I said quite often you'll see some otters down here, but unfortunately I haven't seen any yet. But they will. They'll probably come out a little bit later on, just as the day is, start to lose the light at the end of the day. They'll probably come out. But yeah, I'm gonna take this shot. Let me know what you think. Do you prefer the first one or the second one? I think I prefer the first one because of the separation between the house and the mountains. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I used to be so indecisive, but I'm not so sure anymore.
By moving slightly lower down at the scene, I was able to create a different perspective. And although I lost the separation between the houses and the distant land, I was able to apply a neutral density filter, and at least go in some way to compensating for the loss of that separation.
So I've left that beautiful cluster of houses on the northern tip of Berneray, and I've got in the truck and I've just driven a couple of miles down the road to what I consider the best beach in the Outer Hebrides, which is the beautiful, gorgeous West Beach. Now I was here a couple of weeks ago with my wife, and I didn't have my camera with me, but I noticed that there was a beautiful, colourful, triangular rock pool which was slightly above the beach. And so today I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it's still there, and if it is, I'm going to photograph it. And you'll be pleased to know the wind has picked up. So here it is, the Golden Triangle. Found it. It's beautiful. It's quite, the water's been, it's disturbed the floor of it, so it's quite murky. When I was here a couple of weeks ago, this was all crystal clear and you could see the bottom, and it's, I was hoping that it was going to be like that, but the weather has been atrocious up here the last couple of weeks. So I'm not surprised it's fairly disturbed. But as you can see, this triangle has got an apex here, the arrow, and it's pointing right through to the far end of the Harris Hills in the distance. We've just had a passing shower, another one, and it's only just now that the Harris Hills have revealed themselves. That's what I was waiting for. But yeah, so the arrow points towards the hills, perfect. Now, focusing, as you can see, I'm very close. I'm using a, what have I got? I'm at 20 mil, so that's 16, almost fell in. So 20 mil was 16 mil on a DSLR. So I've got this in focus, this rock here, and I've got this rock in focus where my foot is. And obviously the Harris Hills in focus as well. I need all of it in focus. So I don't think I'm going to get it all in focus in one shot. So I'm going to take a couple of shots, just focus stack, focusing at various points through the image. And if I have to, then I've got that to put together in post-processing. But it's great. Look at these golden shells. Here we are, we're in the middle of summer. The Scottish schools are off, the English schools are off. And like Billy Connolly says, Scotland is gorgeous, but there's no bugger here. There's miles and miles of no bugger, except for Gary, and he's with me. Dear old Gary Beaumont. Get out of the shot. There's just the two of us on one of the best beaches in the Outer Hebrides. So I'm looking forward to getting this shot. It's a great shot. There's no light, obviously. It's all very grey and overcast and dull. But I'm hoping that the colour of the triangle here and the interest in the composition throughout the image, there's lots of layers here. Water, rock, sand, water, land, it's lots of layers, lots of depth into this image. So even though there's no light, I'm just hoping that compensates for there being no light. But yeah, looking forward to getting this shot done. I've been waiting a couple of weeks to get this photograph, so I'm glad I can get hold of it eventually. Let's see how it processes and how it looks. So I'm going to carry on shooting for a little while longer whilst the weather is it's okay, it's not raining, and carry on exploring this beautiful coastline of Berneray. I hope you've enjoyed the couple of shots that I've taken. I think they're half decent, probably no better than that, half decent. But after we've finished shooting here, I'm going to get in the truck and drive down to the south of this group of islands, and we're going to park up in Eriskay this evening with a view of photographing all around Eriskay and in the southern part of the islands before heading over to Barra and Vatisay. So I hope you've really enjoyed the show. And if you have, please consider subscribing, liking, and making any comments. It truly is valued by me and very much appreciated. So thanks ever so much for your support. I certainly appreciate it and value it. But I'm going to carry on shooting, and I hope to see you again very soon, probably from Eriskay. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye.